Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for this week. This time it's my buddy Sam La Hula Hoop, he calls himself, playing a green, black, white Abdul control, and I am running a Bahamut burn mono red list. This is actually the list that Dorian took to second place at the California regional this past week. Unfortunately though, I do not have a ton of experience with burn, so I'm not going to pilot it to the same skill level I'm sure that he brought to it, so just keep that in mind. Apologize to Dorian if I totally just fail at piloting his deck. But it's a really cool list, really cool mono red, really cool to see something like that make it all the way to grand finals of the regional. So let's see what happens. So Sam's gonna be going first. He definitely won the die roll. So see in my hand, there's quite a lot of burn spells, but I know that I'm gonna be on the draw, so I actually keep everything. So we'll have to see what happens. So we see that first turn Elvish Priest from Sam, pretty common for a control, and I do grab that Hunter in Black Forest, and I call red with my Little Red of the Pure Stone, and Rapid Decay that elf out of there. I want to stop his ramping as much as possible. Gretel play to try and get some more color, getting a green-white. And then either a priest or a cat, probably a priest. Oh, nope, decides to play the cat instead to draw a card. So I tap for another red stone, Hunter in Black Forest, and swing in, doing 300. And then swing in for another 300 with a second Hunter in Black Forest. Both of which Sam was going to let me get through with, so. I think Sam is debating whether or not he's going to try to tap for a stone. He does end up going for it. With all those Gretels in his hand, it almost became maybe he won't need it. Maybe he can get to what he needs without having to tap for it. But he's going to go ahead and do some Gretel ramping anyway. Jumping way far ahead of me in terms of will. Potential will. There's another one. Yep, so he's at 6 already while I'm at 2. Very tricky spot to be in for me. Swings in for 200 with one of those cats, and then for 200 with his other Gretel. Then I can't stop. Now I swing in at his face to try to do some extra damage here, get some extra burn in, because I'm going to try and burn one of those Bahamuts off. In hindsight, I actually should have just go ahead and cleared his board. I wasn't necessarily really afraid of all the Gretels, but I should have just worried about clearing them, because that way when I played the Bahamut, I would have actually gotten rid of 3 of his creatures total with those Hunters in Black Forest and Bahamut, and I would have had a much easier board to manage. So again, that was a situation where I'm not the best pilot of this deck, so in hindsight, that was probably what I should have done. And so for you guys watching, take note of that, that's probably a good idea. And then I attempt to split Heaven and Earth, because there's a lot of damage potential, but he does have the Cake Zone, so he's able to stop it. So now I do have this 1k flying beater on board, which is pretty good. So I can do some work with it, but I'm really low on will right now, so I need to start dealing with things. And he actually goes ahead and pays the higher cost for Abdul, because he doesn't want me being able to make any kind of crazy plays. So now with Abdul on the board, my Little Dread is essentially useless, the Little Dread I have in my hand. Not that I'm anywhere close enough to use it with the will that I have, but... And then to top it all off, he plays Lost Silence on me, meaning that all of my stuff is pretty much dead for the turn, so I might as well just go ahead and tap for a stone. So I'm facing down an incredibly sized, huge board. Thankfully, he doesn't have Necronomicon out yet, but this is a lot to deal with only 3 will and 2 creatures on board. So he passes it over to me. During my draw step, or recovery step before everything recovers, I'm going to try and Dragon King's Flame him, but then he goes ahead and plays that Absolute Cake Zone and draws a card, actually getting him into a stoning to death. So I want to try and take out that Abdul. So I'm actually going to swing in with my flying, and then in response to no blocks, I'm actually going to banish the Hunter in Black Forest to save my Bahamut. And again, this is another one of those moments where I could have played that way better. I could have swung in with the Hunter in Black Forest first, and then tried to use Bahamut. I don't have a ton of experience with burn, so definitely suboptimal plays on my end. So I play a Hunter in Black Forest, or a Wolf Hunted in Black Forest, and a 7 Dwarves to try to reestablish a board presence. But he ends up go ahead and exceeds my 7 Dwarves. So that little dread that I have in my hand isn't dead anymore, but at the same time, it's hard for me to do anything with it because my will cost is so low. And then I take a stoning to death from Hunter Black Forest, putting me down to, or for Wolf Hunted, and because of the effects, I don't have a moon, I'm going to take 500 burn damage just for having it sent to grave. So yeah, I wasn't paying attention here, just as a heads up, good thing we have these overlays. I was trying to help Nick at the same time learn a deck that we're going to be using for a feature match next week, so I was talking to him, and I actually did the life damage on board on the wrong side, on Sam's side. So we have the overlays here. So after all of those swinging in with Gretel's and Priests, 800 damage worth, that puts me at 23, and Sam is at 28. So ignore the middle box, just focus on the overlays, and yeah, let's see what we have to deal with. So he plays Law of Silence on me using Necronomicon. And unfortunately, all of my spells and stuff are resonators and spell chants. So you see, I have Little Dread, Wolf Hunted, 7 Dwarves, and looks like a Purifying Fire. So he tries to draw a card from the cat that he played from the grave, but I simply reminded him that because of Necronomicon's errata, enter effects don't trigger. So, not a big deal. So I'm just going to take a lot of Gretel beats. 1,000 damage worth of Gretel and cat and elf beats puts me down to 1,300. Remember, because I messed up the triggers there, or I messed up the putting this on different things on the counter on the board. This is why having pen and paper is probably best, but again, that's why we have the overlays. So I'm in a pretty tough bind here because he has access to all of those cancel spells in his grave, and I have to try and reestablish a board presence because I am quickly getting destroyed. There's a lot of heavy counter presence and the will to be able to goof around with it. So at the end of the turn, he has to discard his whole hand because of Necronomicon, and it all gets banished. So I know that he's got an Exceed, 2 Cake Zones, and a Stoning. He can't play the Stoning. He doesn't have the stones for it. He can't play the Exceed, or he can play the Exceed. Oh, I guess he does have the stone for it. So yeah, so really tough spot for me to be in right now, because I need to try and get some things moving. So I Rapid Decay one of the Priests in order to try to cut off his will supply a little bit. Play another Wolf Hunted in Black Forest. And again, I attempt to play a 7 dwarves. But again, unfortunately, because of that exceed, he simply just cancels it. So I go ahead and J activate because I need to try to burn something off board, and having that flyer. So I actually burn, I believe I burn one of the priests. No, I actually go for a Gretel, because at this point burning a priest is essentially worthless because he's only got access to 3 cards plus whatever he draws into, and he's got plenty of will, so it's almost like he has an abundance that he's not going to need. Worst things worse that he could play is a Mephistopheles, and that even can't attack this turn, so I'm not really necessarily worried. He actually draws into a second Necronomicon, meaning that his only options right now are a Absolute Cake Zone and a Stoning to Death. So I take 200, I take another 200, take another 200, take another 200, then he swings in with both priests, and I actually block one of the priests. So I take 900 damage, putting me down to 400 to Sam's 28. And then he discards the Necronomicon. So I have 400 life left, board full of cards, and only 5 will to do, or 4 will to do anything with it. And no small drops. You have a Purifying Fire, a Little Dread, and a Dragon King's Flame. So actually go ahead and call for a stone and play the Little Dread with 5 to take one of his cats. And crash it into one of his Gretels. And then he just was going to Stoning to Death it right after that. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and go to game 2. Because there's no way I was going to come back the next turn. So here I am going to be going first this time. Trying to keep all my low drop stuff. I see a Loup-Garou in my hand. Hoping to draw into a low cost creature. Unfortunately, I think I drew it to a second Split Heaven and Earth. So, not the ideal position for me to be in. Hit that little red off the top, call it red, have to pass. And no first turn play from him either. Go to turn 2, I don't have any. So I want to make sure to try and have some spells ready for whatever he plays, so I end up just passing the turn to him. So here we have a very slow start for Baha and a very slow start for Abdul. He's just got a handful of counters and he's just sitting on it, saying that I'm just gonna play what I want to play. Now I'm worried about the Zeke's play, so I actually don't play that Loup-Garou, which was probably a stupid idea. Probably should have just gone ahead and gone for it. Because now he has gotten a creature, and so he's going to be able to start ramping up. Every phase I play a Thunder on his Gretel. Tap for a stone. Play a Purifying Fire to burn his face. Again, I'm trying to maybe even potentially bait out any kind of so I can make use of those Stoning to Deaths. I end up just playing 2 Purifying Fires. He cancels the second one. So again, I don't. Again, not being the best burn player, I should have just committed to board when I saw that that instead of trying to go for the spell, but I was more concerned about just getting straight damage. Since he wasn't really playing creatures though, it would have been really easy for me to just make Loup-Garou do a lot of work. But I was really worried about the Zeke's play. So now begins the massive Law of Silence loop that I'm going to be experiencing. I do draw into a small drop creature, but with Wolf Hunted in Black Forest, but unfortunately he just plays the Law of Silence. So now that he's got that Gruz Ballista, he can just go ahead and J-activate for 1. So now he has Abdul, so he's 2 parts away, really. He just has to play both of them from a infinite Law of Silence loop, which against Burn, with no way to stop his Necronomicon, is essentially game. So I've got to try and figure out something to do, but unless he has another Law of Silence. So in response to the Law of Silence, I go ahead and throw out a quick Dragon King's Flame to try to burn him from some more damage. But then he ends up just cake zoning it anyway, so it doesn't go anywhere. So all I'm left to do is just tap for a stone and pass the turn to him. So now that Necronomicon's out, so we've essentially entered right now an infinite Law of Silence loop, because he can cast Law of Silence and then respond to it by using Abdul to blank Necronomicon. So Law of Silence will actually go back to the grave, so he can play Law of Silence every single turn against me. So I'm just going to take a cool 1000 damage from Abdul, and then he decides to just pass. So I've now gotten that handful of creatures, but the problem is, because I'm going to be facing down that Law of Silence loop, I'm not going to be able to play anything on my turn. So I'm actually just going to have to rely on burn spells, in a sense, to maybe even try to bait out his cake zones, or bait out him using his cards, his will, but doesn't fall for it, plays out Law of Silence during my turn. I'm stuck again, having to wait. Another grand of damage, putting me down to 2,000. Another Law of Silence during my turn, and all I can do is just tap for a stone. That's all I got. So at this point, because he can do the Law of Silence loop, he really has absolutely no need to tap for a stone. He can just swing in with Abdul and just keep putting in damage, so putting me down to 1,000. Because he knows that during my turn, I have no way to stop him from playing Law of Silence because I'm mono red. So that's just going to keep happening. And then I respond to the Law of Silence by casting a Thunder, and that's all I can do. So I just go ahead and scoop because I know that Abdul's going to kill me next turn. So there you guys have it. That is green, black, white Abdul that Sam created. Really, really cool, versus Daniel Ha's Bahamut burn list that I piloted terribly. So yeah, go ahead and let me know what you thought of the decks. Deck profiles will be uploaded this week. So like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, this is TMO73 signing off.